Hello and welcome to the Ivy League Sisters podcast, where you're invited into the world of high-achieving women who earned that coveted Ivy League degree and now are here to get real and honest about the pressures and expectations that come with claiming this achievement. I'm Lauren Balukjian, and I'm the founder of Ivy League Sisters, a mentorship community where intellectually curious and slightly rebellious women band together to support each other through the personal and professional seasons of life. In this podcast, we peel back the layers of perfection to reveal the authentic, often messy, and always inspiring stories of women who have been where you are. So whether you're an Ivy League graduate, a high achiever in any field, or simply someone striving to live a more authentic life, the Ivy League Sisters podcast is a place where you can realize you're not alone. And if you're new here, like and follow this podcast so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. I hope you enjoy the conversations. Wow, I am just, I'm speechless coming off of this incredible, honest, vulnerable dialogue with Ivy League sister Krista Rue. She is a graduate from Princeton University. She is a practicing lawyer, and she's in the midst of a career transition. But what she shared in this interview about her journey to sobriety is nothing short of incredibly inspiring, authentic, genuine, and she brings an incredible sense of her sense of humor and fun into this conversation. So if you are someone who is taking their job a bit too seriously, or you've struggled with substance abuse, or you're just considering a whole different career path, this episode is for you. Where are you, lady?
It made me click a lot of things. I'm like, I'm here, I swear.
You had to agree, signing off all your rights, all your disclosures.
Yes. I have no more rights. I belong to you now.
Hello. Oh my gosh. I love the tigers. We're both wearing our Princeton orange, even though I'm not Princeton. I'm still representing today.
Yes. I appreciate you getting in on the theme. I was getting dressed and I was like, tiger dress, of course, I have to. A friend of mine gave it to me for my birthday last year. It's like sleeveless, but not. So it covers like the top part of your arm that you don't want anyone to see.
Yes, which actually you'll appreciate this. I may edit this out of the recording or not, but I'm right now I'm in this this container with women's work, and we are embodying all these different archetypes. And right now we're in the Primal Goddess, and it's all about the roar. It's all about like that primal nature. So my leader, my mentor, if you will, she challenged me because I was like, one of my shame things, be like, I don't want to smell. I don't want to, be too primal. And she's like, your challenge now is that you don't shave for the rest of this archetype of the moon.
Oh my goodness.
Armpits, legs, the whole shebang. You know what I'm talking about. So,
all right.
I'll spare you the glimpse, but I've got 1 week left, and it's been special
the
because
sleeves. Yeah.
I'm wearing sleeves. Yes. My daughter caught a glimpse and was like, Mom, what's going on? Like, what is that? And because I didn't make a public service announcement about it. It was more like a personal, like, let me find my edge. What's uncomfortable about this? Where do I care about what other people think? How have we become normalized to thinking what certain rules are out there? Like, all women shave their armpits. Like, only the Europeans don't do that. Like, it's interesting to be in this frame of mind that's like questioning all the norms.
That's cool.
So these have been really fun conversations, and I'm like particularly excited about ours because you're just a bundle of fun. Like, I was having so much fun reviewing, like, I did a little bit of my due diligence, like, okay, what's she been up to on LinkedIn? What's her Instagram all about? What's she shared in our community? On top of like just the energy that you bring. And your natural state of being. Like before I even peeked at any of that stuff, I'm like, Krista's fun. She's authentic. She's spontaneous. She's super real. Like she'll just say it like it is, and like values directness, which is in a world where there's so much posturing and hiding and trying to fit certain things in a certain way. Like you are so refreshing.
Yeah, it took a long time to get there.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
we'll
not
even
like,
talk about some of that, because that's such a
yeah,
gift for so many women, and then
yeah,
particularly Ivy League women who have been felt that pressure to be on a certain track
yeah.
and put on a certain face and serve as a certain identity. And what I would love for us to get into in this conversation is a bit of your, I mean, you're a lawyer, you've been practicing for 22 years,
Yeah.
and you're a fun, free woman. And those usually feel a little mutually exclusive.
Yeah. 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 Usually, like, whenever I tell people I'm a lawyer, they're like, what? No, no. Yeah. Yeah. Until I like put on my lawyer costume and I like, I have my triple strand of pearls that I wear with my black suit, and, then I'm in my lawyer costume and I can do the show, and, but like, I can't take it too seriously, or I'd lose my mind. Like, I deal with serious things. I deal with, like, civil rights and like education rights of children and things that really matter. And like, as soon as it stops being fun, I can't, it's just not worth it. Like, yes, there are aspects that are not fun over 22 years, of course. And I've done many different kinds of law, many different things. And right now I'm kind of transitioning a little as well, away from practicing as much law. But it's, you know, I think it's important not to let your career define you. And we as like, not just as Americans, but as women are trained, like, what you do is who you are. And, once I realized that that's not the case, that, I can be this strong, powerful advocate and stay true to myself at the same time and not have to carry all of it with me everywhere I go. Like, so I have my real life, I have my lawyer life, I have my spiritual life, I have all of these lives that come together into, what I do every day.
And how do you find like that wholeness and that reconciliation of them all, so it doesn't feel like you're completely transforming into these different beings?
Um, what I look for is like the common thread between all of the things that like makes me happy and keeps me me. So like, I know I came to being a lawyer because I have a very strong sense of justice. And like, have always had like right and wrong, and wanting like the right thing to be the outcome, wanting the right outcome for whoever it is. Um, and so I look for that in other aspects of my life. I look for ways that I can, make other people's lives better, that I can, while making my own life better,
Right.
so I can do that. Um, even just by like listening to people's stories, or being present, or helping other people figure out what it is that they really want. I find that in lawyering, that's a lot of my job. And if you had asked me before I went to law school, like, my mom's a social worker, she's a psychotherapist, like, she loves all that like touchy feely hippie crap that I've always made fun of. And I'm like, no, I want to be the opposite of that. I want to be like, here's the law, do the thing, and like fit in these rules. And the law's not like that. And when you are applying it to real people, and so much of it is helping people figure out what they really want and need to make their lives livable under whatever circumstances they're in, whether it's, you know, they're a victim of a crime, whether they're going through a divorce, whether, you know, they have a child with a disability, you know, whether they've been discriminated against. Whatever I'm doing, I try to look for a way to, you know, make the world a little better, and it
Yeah, and
keeps
that
me
listen,
happy doing that.
that takes a really special skill though, the different kind of listening than the words that they're just saying
Yeah,
versus what's like even beneath that, what's uncovering that, what they might not even know themselves, but you are able to like help tease that out. That's what I'm hearing you say.
yeah,
You have, you seem like someone that has just had such a clear like knowing of who you are. I was reading how you at 12 years old announced, I'm going to Princeton and I'm going to be a lawyer. Like having that
yes,
level of clarity is huge and rare for a young
and a
baby
little crazy.
and a
Yeah,
little girl. But I also know you went through some really other crazy times of your self-discovery. You're,
yeah,
you know, you proclaim you're a sober alcoholic now. So can you share, like you said, alcohol nearly killed you. That
yeah,
sounds intense. What?
yeah. Actually, we're coming up on August 29th. It'll be 10 years since I tried to take my own life because of like my alcoholism, and like everything, like my life was just so out of control and unmanageable, and I saw how I was not just hurting myself but everyone around me, and I couldn't see a way out of it. Like I couldn't see anything other than that, like I was the problem.
But I am
And
so
that,
touched by this,
yeah,
Krista. Like it hits me so deeply because that awareness when you're in it, I would love for you to like bring us into that because that, first of all, it takes huge amount of courage to make that step over. Like they always say that it was you can take the cow to the horse to the water, you can't make it drink the water.
yeah.
So, you know, being the person that's like what hit you? When was your like wake up moment? Was there one?
It was actually like I mean, I did try to kill my, like I intentionally drove my car into a tree. Like I had turned off my airbags, like I did all the thing, like, and it was, you know, a giant tree, and it broke in half. This is in like the woods of New Jersey. Broke in half and landed here next to my head.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, I was so angry. I was so angry because I was like, see, this is what a f up I am. Like, what a fuck up I am. Like, I can't even do this right. Like, come on. And it took some time after that of like going back and forth, and like I yelled at God all the time. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you doing this? Why am I here? Why, you know, what is your plan? If like, because clearly I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You know, and like one day I was, you know, I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't live like this anymore. And
Really quick, were you high
but
functioning
I
at this
can't
point,
like,
Krista? Were
yeah, I was representing clients. I was at the time, it was when I owned a distillery, which, you know, made it really easy to drink whatever I wanted, however much I wanted. You know, I was involved in sports. Like I was playing field hockey, I was playing roller derby, I was doing a ton of things, and like surrounding myself with people, but I felt so alone, like, and I felt so empty. And so I was like drinking to try to fill that hole. Um, and you know, and what I what I found, like one day I seriously, like I woke up and I was just like, what are we gonna do about this? See, I talk to God like most people, like he's a guy from Jersey. because, I'm a girl from Jersey, I curse it in, like, I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like, I know this isn't the life you want for me. Like, help me out, help a sister out, because I can't. I don't get it. And what started happening was, like, I started meeting people, and people started coming into my life who didn't drink. And, like, my big hang up with not drinking was that I was like, how am I ever going to have fun? How am I ever going to, like, go to a party? How am I ever going to talk to strangers? Like, I was sure I couldn't talk to people, like, um, but, now in retrospect, I realized that, like, my social anxiety was because, like, was tied up in the drinking, it had nothing to do with me. Um, like,
Yeah.
not being able to do it. It was, like, I had given myself this crutch. And it was, and I started drinking, I started drinking heavily when I went to Princeton because,
Okay, I'm
I
raising
had
my hand here
such, yeah,
for
yeah,
Dartmouth. Like that was the
yeah,
thing. So you did in college, and
yeah,
it became such
yeah,
a crutch for socialization and being more comfortable, and then everything, you just have that little bit of extra confidence or
yeah,
humor or whatever it is comes out, right? Like it.
yeah. And it, like, helps you with, that bit of imposter syndrome. Like, all of these people are so brilliant, and, like, why am I here? Like, was I a computer error, or, like, did did they, like, mess up, send me the wrong letter, and now they don't want to admit they made a mistake? Like, so, I'm because everyone you meet is, like, more brilliant than the next. And while you're there and you're in it, you're like, oh, but, like, if I drink, then I can talk the talk, and I can do the things, and I can, like,
Right.
be the social fun girl, and that can be my role here, and whatever. And I just continued doing that. A lot of people will stop when they graduate from college, but then I went to law school, and it was kind of more of, like, you know the same kind of, can I do this? And, and then, plus, there were, like, these expectations on me because I did go to Princeton. So, and, like, you know
And you,
most, like, many people from my law school class didn't go to Ivy League schools. They, like, some did and some didn't, but those of us who did were expected to be at the top of our class.
right.
So it's like, and, and I'm like, I just want to, like, learn the law and, like, be a lawyer and do the things, and, and so I just lived in that for so long, and then started practicing law. And, like, I know it'll be shocking, but lawyers are big drinkers and big users of cocaine. And, like, there's a lot, like,
There's a whole
going
underground
on.
world to manage all the
Oh yeah.
pressure or all the um expectation, all of that world, right? I've
Yeah.
talked to many that are, whether they're in the legal world or banking, it's like to shut the
Yeah.
brain off or to keep
Yeah.
yourself going.
Yeah.
Oftentimes many people are turning towards their friend the substance
Yep. Yep.
as a
And then, if you've been doing one so much, like, you need the other to counteract it, and it, like, one's the antidote for the other, and,
gotta
like, it
come up,
becomes
gotta come
this
down.
whole,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And it's, like, this whole life, and it's exhausting. It's really, really fucking exhausting. And that's where I was. And, one of the people I met who didn't drink, is now my husband. I actually met him, the day before. Like, we met online, even though we were both lawyers and we lived, like, a town away from each other. I was actually going on to, I think it was Match.com. I don't remember which site it was, but I was going on to,
eHarmony,
like, cancel.
Match.com, one of those
Yeah,
back then, not
one of
Tinder.
those. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to date myself too much. But I was going on to cancel my account, like, just be like, this is ridiculous, I'm done. And there was a message from him, and it was very generic. It was like, hey, beautiful, like, I'd like to, take you out sometime. And I was like, well, he's, like, literally 2 towns away. Why not? One last try. And, and the day I met him was the day before he celebrated 30 years sober. And my husband is, like, he got sober at 21, which, like, blows my mind. I'm like, how what? Like, how is that even, wow. Yeah, and so like I started dating him and I was still drinking, but I was like trying not to, but I was, and like I knew I needed to stop, but I wasn't quite ready. And what he did for me was teach me that like I could have like a lot of fun not drinking, like still do like the silly, ridiculous, fun, crazy things that I love to do, and have the added benefit of like remembering it all the next
Yeah.
day and
Not
not
having the shame, not having that, wait, did I really do
yes,
that? Did I intentionally do that? Like,
yeah, like no, I made a conscious choice to do that,
right.
like,
And owning it even
and
more.
yeah, yeah, like, oh no, that's my thing, like I was the one dancing on top of that table last night. Cool. Like that was me, and not like, oh, I had to hear about it from someone else, or
Right.
like where'd I park my car, or like who did I, call or send messages to or email thinking I was
Mm-hmm.
like so smart in the middle of the night. Yeah. Um yeah, and what not drinking has given me is like a whole lot of freedom, and and like I feel so sad for the girl I was. And I wasn't a girl, I was like a grown ass woman 10 years ago, but I feel sad for her, but I'm so grateful for having gone through all that, because it got me here today in this spot. Like I wouldn't be who I am right now, but for all of that. And it took me a long time to be grateful for all the bad shit in my life, like
Well, and the other thing is, Chris, well, it was 10 years ago. You say you were a grown ass woman. It's probably the little girl in you that actually that was acting out and
yeah,
reaching for the drinking and those
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. It was purely like 17-year-old Christa going to Princeton. I was still 17 when I started at Princeton. I was like, but yet I was expected to be an adult and act like an adult. And like, you're not an adult at 18 either. Like, and we try to make 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds, like we put all this pressure
I know.
to like figure out what you want to be for the rest of your life. And not everybody at 12 makes a decision. And one of the things that I've been coming to is over the last few years is that the decision I made at 12 was the right one for me, but it's not the right one. Like, not necessarily being a lawyer isn't necessarily the right thing for me anymore,
Mhm.
like, and so it's been a process of figuring out what's next, because I
Mm.
don't have to be limited, but I don't have to like close that door either.
It doesn't have to
I
be this
can use
all or
that.
nothing.
Yes.
There's been this extreme, like, I've just been surrounded by it a lot. These conversations keep coming up of that duality of like, it has to be, yeah, this like, I leave this, or I'm completely shutting that door, and that part of me now is done. And I've got to like somehow completely reinvent in this whole new part, rather than it being more of this beautiful threading of, your work and your experience into the unfolding, the birthing of what the next chapter is for you.
Yeah. 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 So like at Princeton, I majored in religion, which like
Can we talk about that a
I
little bit? Because
yeah,
I
yeah,
love the religion plus law and finding that connection, like,
yeah,
and then the
yeah,
sprinkles of fun that you put into everything. So,
yeah. So I actually had put down on my application that I wanted to either be a religion major or a math major, because I thought they would be like weird things that like nobody else would put. So, maybe that would help my chances. Like that, like that's a deciding factor,
well,
17-year-old
when
brain.
we're that age, we're using all the tricks in the book.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what's
yeah.
going to give
What
me that slight edge advantage?
yeah,
Anything.
yeah. And then, um the professor in charge of our residential college, he was a religion professor and I loved him. So I was like, I'll take his class. Um, and I'd always gone to church, like I was involved in my church youth group. blah, blah, blah. So I took his class and I was like, this is cool. So by the time I had to declare a major, I had already taken 3 religion classes without even thinking about it. And you only needed 8 in the department to graduate with the degree. So I was like, I'm like halfway done. So let's do that. I really enjoyed looking at like how religion has been involved in American culture, American politics, society, like all of that. Yeah.
What is your point of view on religion, organized religion, and then female roles, like some of the gender stuff, not gender in the sense of pronouns and LGBTQ work, but more of organized religion, Christianity specifically, with a woman's role
Yeah.
in a man's role, like that to me, because you're a woman of like
Yeah.
progressive, but
Yeah.
you
Oh,
have this
yeah.
background in religion, so I'm deeply curious about where
Well,
you stand on this.
yeah. One of the reasons I stuck with the Presbyterian Church all these years is because they were, one of the first 2 of the Protestant churches to like welcome women pastors and like welcome gay marriage and, be more open and inclusive. And they've always stressed like a personal relationship with God, which I like. My master's
That's right.
thesis that I
You've got your direct line to the New
yeah
Jersey God line.
to Jersey God, who kind of in my head is a little like James Gandolfino mafia Sopranos
I
ish.
love this
Like,
because I have my own direct line too, and mine has a very different, like, yeah, it speaks
yeah,
in a totally different language.
yeah, and that's like a cool thing that we all can have our own relationship in it. Like it's how God reveals himself to us or herself or who, like for some
Right.
people God's a her and for me it's him and whoever, like some it's just like the spirit of nature
Higher
or
source.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of like when I went back to Columbia and got a master's, I was looking at I had been noticing how religion and law like, you know, are really connected in terms because like a lot of I mean, especially criminal law, family law, they're based on this like very antiquated sense of morality that people claim is like Bible based and whatever. But if you actually read the Bible, none of that is in there. Like none of like the hate speeches and not none of like the exclusionary stuff. Like maybe if you're like deep Old Testament, but in there, like it changes every chapter. Like there's a new rule because times have changed and we've moved forward. Um, but if you look at like the New Testament, it's all about like love and God and like inclusion and oh, you're the outcast, cool, come hang out with me. And like that was something I could get my head around, but I couldn't get my head around, a lot of political and legal speak that was trying to keep itself grounded in this like Judeo-Christian ethic that made no sense based on what I knew of what the Judeo-Christian ethic was. And then there was this case in New Jersey that like blew my mind, where a woman was trying to get a restraining order against her husband, based on an allegation that he had raped her. He admitted he had raped her, but he said my religion allows me to. And so the judge said no restraining order because it would be a violation of your First Amendment freedom of religion. And I was like, so yeah.
Wow. See,
And
this is what,
that was in
oh,
2018. Like we're not talking even like the 70s. Like we're talking 2018. And then it, went to the appellate court and got reversed and all that. And that's how word got out about it. But I was like, what?
so this is
And
the
so
kind of, these
then,
stories make my brain freeze because I'm like paralyzed. And that's why I'm like, I can be a lawyer because I'm just like, and
yeah,
also the fact that like there's so much interpretation of the law and who's in power to kind of decide what the way it's interpreted. And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. And I'm like, so his right trumps her like right to personal autonomy, like his like bastardized version of what he believes his religion like allows. It doesn't require it. It's not like there's some mandate that says like,
that's what drives me
God says
crazy.
I must rape my wife. Yeah.
When people also use religion as a manipulation, it's just like,
Yeah. Like, no, that's not what it's about. That's not any of
misses the
it.
whole
And
principle. And that's, yeah, some of those pieces that I'm like, we're losing the whole point here, people. Like, ooh, let's.
yeah. And that's why like I think a lot of people have gone away from the church and gone away from like organized religion because it often is so doctrinal and so misogynistic and so like fire and brimstone, and or it's just like useless fluff, like touchy feel like, oh, you're not a bad person, someone else is a bad person, but you're not, you're good. And I'm actually starting seminary in a couple weeks. um
Tell me
because
more.
I need another degree,
Yeah.
because like I've been working at this church in my town now for a few months, like just part-time, in my spare time. My battery is dying apparently.
No,
But
do
like,
you want to go grab a
no.
charger? Or we...
Yeah, let me go do that. I'll finish my story. So church, and it does a lot of community work. It does a lot, like it's very progressive, like social minded. And
Okay. Well, when
all
you
right,
said you might change your look with your glasses, we didn't know we'd
there
also
we
be
go.
changing the backdrop.
Yes, it's a whole new me.
Let's do it. Let's change it
All
up.
right,
I'll join you in the change up. Let me get rid of my virtual. We'll just completely change the vibe.
right.
There
Yeah,
we
there we
go.
go.
Welcome to our
Whole new,
homes.
whole new background. Love it. Um, okay, so um what I was saying is that, churches can have relevance in like modern society, and that, organized religion doesn't have to be the big mega churches. I'm pausing to see if I get cut off again. It doesn't have to be the big mega churches, or any of like anything culty, or you don't have to be a mindless drone to be, you know, a believer in something bigger than yourself. And that there's no conflict with science to believe in something bigger than yourself. And like it can all come together. And so, yeah, there's so much more out there in the world than we know about. Like, I'd rather hope that there's a bigger plan than that this is all like just a mindless march to death. Like, come on.
No.
Yeah.
But also just
Um,
like living in this world, when you do feel that energy of higher power, higher source, something else greater than ourselves. I don't know about you, but
yeah.
it invites a level of like mysticism and magic and
Yeah.
curiosity and like the
Yeah.
divine intelligence of things. Like to me, it just, whether or not there's an afterlife, like it makes this life even that much more like juicy and full of
Yes.
adventure.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people are missing out on that because they're so stuck in like, I have to be in like my little world of logic, or I can't believe in that because it's like woo woo, touchy feely, like weird crap. Or it means that like I lose the power to think for myself. Um, and so the reason I'm going to seminary is because there need to be more churches out there that are like, no, this is like
Aggressive
a way
and
you can live and make a positive impact on your life, and kind of really get back to like original Jesus shit. Yes, and that's the way I was talking. Like, but that's like, like I was saying before, Jesus was like, you're an outcast, come hang out. Like, People think you're a bad person. I don't. Because, you didn't really do anything that bad. Or, you know, you're more likely to be a bad person if you're only thinking about yourself and not about everyone else, and live this life of love and openness and generosity.
I do
That
feel that we are looking as a society, as an evolution, the collective consciousness is craving connection, has gotten so far away from spirit.
Yeah,
We are spiritual, finding that centeredness. Like when I think about the parts about church that I think people crave and miss and gather is there's like community, there's like the singing, like just having our voices heard, there's that quiet space to reflect. There's just so much
yeah,
richness in those practices and those rituals, but so often I think that we've lost sight of the intention and the why behind some of this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of it becomes so ritualized. Like you do the stand up, sit
Right. You're
down,
not even
pray, like you don't even think about it. You don't think about the words. Like if you actually think about the Lord's Prayer, like it's a lot. Like, like you're asking for like forgiveness, but you're asking to be able to forgive others. You're asking like to have this bigger life that lives as God would have you live, rather than like how I want to live, or whatever's going on in my crazy brain right now.
Yep.
And like and it doesn't take away free will to have faith.
Right.
Like it takes a lot of faith to believe that what you're deciding is the right decision at any point. And like so many decisions we make in life are just leaps of faith. um but then to say I don't believe in a higher power, I don't believe there's anything more out there, like, then why are you making this leap of faith? Like,
Yeah.
then you should be able to logic your way out of everything,
Right.
and you can't. Like, it's impossible. I've tried it.
I mean,
It'll break
I'm
you.
a very deeply spiritual person and grew up with the like Methodist kind of going through the motions though side of things,
Hmm.
where I was always like, when my parents said, okay, we're going to church on Sunday, I genuinely can remember like 6 or 7-year-old Lauren thinking, why do I need to go there to have someone even get me to God? Like I really felt that connection to, we are conversing all the time and
Yeah,
still to
yeah.
this day. And I think that um sometimes the wrapper that we put around things is the polarizing part, unfortunately, that keeps people thinking it's got a doctrine of it or the way it's supposed to be, versus a layer deeper of
Yeah,
what this is
yeah. Or
really.
like my visualization is God of God is right and yours is wrong. So
Right.
I have to try to fix you and make you see God my way. Instead of believing that, like, this power that I call God, um, is so big and so amazing that it can reveal itself to you in one way, me another way, my husband another, my dog a different way,
Right.
and we,
Omnipresent, omnipotent, like
yeah.
that. And then that's just, I mean, we're not going to get into this right now, but the whole, like, when I look at what's happening in parts of this world that are just really wars raged on belief systems, it's like, what
Yeah,
a
and it
shame. Like,
has for like millennia. And it's like, come on. Like, one of the things when I was at Princeton and studying religion, one of the things that struck me was if you boil down every major world religion to like its core, it's like do good things and good things will happen for you. Like the
exactly.
end, period. End of story. And I'm like, if we all did that, there would be no wars. There would be no like fighting. There would be like, oh, cool. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do and it makes me feel good. And now, like, you're going to do a good thing and we're all going to do good things and everybody's going to like live happily. But, we don't have that. We can't have that
I
because
know. It's
because
such a
people get
kumbaya, but
involved
I
and
do believe like love defies fear, love over conquer, like love conquers all. It's such a cheesy saying in some ways, but really
so true.
there's such simplicity and wisdom in that.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't need to be complicated. things get complicated because we try to put rules and structure and dogma on things, instead of just doing what is good. And so that's another thing I try to carry into like practicing law and living my life daily. And a lot of this has come through getting sober too, like doing the whole 12 steps and really examining my life. And like it occurred to me at one point, like everyone could do like the 12 steps and kind of, like
Get something from
everyone's
it.
powerless over something, like
Right.
even if it's just life, like I'm powerless over my life, like,
Yep.
and things are unmanageable. Okay, I accept that. Now that's step one, and so like, you
So
practice it in
true.
your life, and like, and can't hurt anyone to do like a little spiritual personal house cleaning to be like, oh, I was kind of a jerk on that occasion, and I'm carrying around this resentment that's like weighing me down. Like, why am I letting that take up so much space in my brain?
I know.
um and life is easier if you don't. And life is easier if you're just honest and straightforward and
Trusting and
like,
accepting and
yeah,
yeah, transparent.
yeah, yeah, like I don't have to remember what I said to someone because I said the truth.
Right.
So much easier. I don't have to worry about if I treated somebody badly. Most of the time, I'm not responsible for how someone
Interpret.
feels about what I do or say or interprets it, but like as long as I know my motives were right, then, and if somebody is hurt by what I say, then I have to look at my motives and be like, hey, was I trying to be like
Or
some
like
sort of way there? And yeah,
even if the motive, I always think of like intention and impact. And even if intention was right, but then someone shares with you their impact, like what do
yeah,
you do with that information, right? How do you
yeah,
react or grow or learn from it? And where do we delineate like, oh, that's a you thing, that's a me thing, and then where's maybe a middle ground thing that's
yeah,
happening?
yeah. Like, what am I going to do differently? Or how could I have done that differently and still said the same thing or done the same thing, had reached
Yeah.
the same outcome, but like in a way that doesn't hurt someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had this interesting thing that came up. This was years ago when the first time Trump was running, and I went on live in the election polls on social media, and I'm like, I'm casting my vote right now. Like, we'll just have to trust that what's meant to be will be. Whoever comes into power, like everything will be okay. We'll figure it out. My intent in saying that was kind of like release all this control and, trust that if he wins this election, maybe it's things have to get more extreme for ultimately things to shift the other way.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of one woman in particular that was really, really offended by that. And she was really bothered by it. But it was like it was interesting because at first it made me be like, see, I knew I never wanted to talk politics stuff. I always get in trouble. But
Yeah.
at the same token, I'm like, can I use this as a learning opportunity? Can we both sift through like what was the impact that had on you? And like, oh, maybe this is going to help me become more aware of some sensitivity that I wasn't aware of. Like it's just
Yeah.
raising awareness, right? I was
Yeah.
someone that ignorantly would be like, when people would say Black Lives Matter, I would say, what? I don't get it. All lives matter. And then
Yeah.
someone slowed it down enough to really explain to me why saying all lives matter takes away from the cause.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was
Yeah.
helpful, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
sometimes we're coming at these things with a naivety or a blind spot or an ignorance that if we can just trust that we're all in the spirit of wanting to though evolve and grow and learn from each other, it's not
Yeah.
so you don't have to get your defenses up so quickly and
Yeah.
scared to speak and share and right.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm also taking a family law mediation class this fall, like to transition from practicing law into mediation. And I kind of want to use like the spiritual, my spiritual training and my MDiv training along with the mediation training and
I
like
love
offer a
that.
different way at it. Yeah.
Right. Just combining
Yeah.
those two unique, very different, but finding that blend to make it your like personal magical concoction to do
Yeah.
your thing in the world.
Yeah. And because for so many people, like, you know, who do have a strong belief in God or belief in whatever, that's part of who they are, and they need that to make sense with their decision about their family, and they need to have a way to process that, that you don't necessarily get from a lawyer or a judge. Like, you definitely don't get from a judge or
Right.
even a general mediator. They're like, no, this is how things are going to get divided, and have a nice day.
Mm.
um, yeah.
Well, it's funny because when I looked at your LinkedIn and then even though, your site, I'm like, oh, my immediate inner critic of like, of not criticizing you, but like judgment of myself, like, oh my gosh, she's so intimidating. Like, look at all this stuff she's done. And then I went to Instagram and I'm like, oh, but I can hang with this woman. She's so much, like, we can paint together and have girls just
Yeah.
want to have fun in the background. Like, I can do
Oh,
that. So
yeah. Yeah.
it's so interesting how we have these different personalities or parts of ourselves, and then how the world perceives it and how it's, received and different people. I mean, it's just, to me, it's so fascinating to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
to
And all of them can be true at the same time. Yeah.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
like that. That's what makes you unique and Krista.
Yeah. If I wasn't, I would be someone completely different, and that's like what I was saying before about like all of like my past had to exist to get here right now, and having this conversation with you and living this life where I have palm trees in the background and, my three dogs running around like crazy animals. And
Mm.
yeah.
Well, I like to close these with a rapid
Yes.
fire round of some lightning questions just to get
Okay.
your like what comes up for you.
Okay.
So the first one is, when you think of imposter syndrome, people pleasing, and perfectionism, which one has been the biggest thorn on your rose?
Definitely imposter syndrome.
Really?
Definitely.
I was gonna
Yeah.
guess. I think I was gonna
Yeah.
guess the perfectionism possibly.
Perfectionism is like a close second, but like, no, definitely imposter syndrome, at least for like most of my life. Like, maybe now it's more leaning toward perfectionism, but like, yeah.
Okay. What's a lie that you tell yourself still?
That I am fat and ugly
Mm,
all the
oh
time.
man.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Yep.
feel those lies that we say are just like gut
Yeah.
punches.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm not. Like,
That, right. You're not.
yeah.
Not that you need to hear it from
I'm
me,
like,
but like these are the
yeah.
voices that we have in our head, right?
Yeah.
These are the
Yeah.
things.
Or like somebody will give like me a compliment, and I'm like, whatever. Like, no. But then, you realize you're like discounting their opinion and like
And that's
saying
like
like,
a
oh,
level of,
you're wrong.
and then to not like, I feel like to accept a compliment, it takes a level of vulnerability,
Yeah.
right? It's actually
Yeah.
easier to do the deflection thing because that's like the protective, like, don't make me
Yeah.
feel that. Like, no, I don't trust that.
Yeah. Yeah. Or to feel
Okay.
like you have to give one right back, then like, oh, you like,
You're
you think
searching
I'm
for
pretty.
it.
Well, I think you're beautiful too. Like,
I
no, you're
know.
the pretty one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had to like I've noticed when someone compliments something I'm wearing, let's just say as an example. I notice if my first inclination is like, yeah, to immediately offer back the bounce back, but that kind of takes away from just the
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, and then one last one, which is, what is something that you feel that might be a little edgy in your life right now, but you feel comfortable sharing in this moment?
Um, I mean, I'm a little nervous about, starting a new like career direction and life direction. I've been a lawyer for 22 years and, doing other things on the side, but like, the idea of shifting away from that is a little scary, especially to something like so different from lawyering. I mean, I'm doing like a transition by like doing the mediation, but like eventually I'm gonna go away even from that, maybe. I don't know. So
Such an
yeah,
honest, refreshing, as you always are, just real reality. And gosh, I
yeah.
witness you in that uncomfortable and courageous move that for whatever
But
reason.
it's so exciting too, like I have so much excitement about it and like, yeah.
Well, fear, excitement and nerves are kind of, they're both the same sensation, and they always sit together. Like
Yeah.
they're two sides of the same
Yeah.
coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I just,
wow.
yeah. So next time you see me, I like when you actually see me in person in October, I will be like a month and a half into my seminary training. I will be have started my mediation training. I'm gonna be like a whole new person,
I know
except
there's going
not.
to be
I'm
so
gonna
much
be,
having shifted.
I know, except I'm still gonna be me. So
You are, though. This is the thing. Like
yeah.
I did laugh when you said, or I was chuckling in my own head when you said talking about your journey with alcohol and how you're like, how will I have fun without it? And I'm like, that's just Krista at her core, is like, it's a vibrational energy of fun. Like put her in a lawyer suit, put her in a chicken suit. Like it doesn't matter what you're in. That is like your beingness.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I feel that so deeply. So yeah, the alcohol, like, no, that's that's just another vehicle, but not anything that's who you are.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
This has been just, we've covered so many different grounds, so many
I
different
know.
parts of who you are, but I think having your voice be shared for others to witness, like all of it, right? The dark moments, the achieving moments, the clear moments, the ones that are still uncertain. Like that's
Yeah.
being human.
Yeah. Have a
Love
great rest of
this.
your day.
Cannot wait to hear about the seminary. More on that to be continued.
Yes. Yes. It'll be interesting.
Okay. I'll see you
Bye-bye.
later. Me and my armpit hair. We'll see you later.
Maybe you'll braid it by then.
We'll see if that
Bye.
makes the editing cut. We'll see. All right.
Okay,
Have
bye.
a great day, Krista.
You too.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you too.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you'd like to be in contact with our community, you can find us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Ivy League Sisters, or visit our website at ivyleaguesisters.com. And if you found this conversation valuable, I invite you to share it with another woman, another friend, another loved one, because it's through our sharing that we inspire one another and deepen our connections. Until next time, remember, you're not alone. We are in this crazy thing called life together.